I visit hospitals from time to time, actually probably pretty regularly. Get up to Albany and see people. And I was recently visiting someone from our two parishes. And while I was leaving his room, this woman who had been in the room across the hall, she kind of gestured. She was very subtle. She said, "Hey, come here." So I went over and saw her. She was visiting her brother. And did you want me to see your brother? Well, I suppose, but I want to talk to you. Oh, okay, fine. So I saw the brother, gave him a blessing, and then we kind of went out in the hall and talked for a little while. And she wanted just to open her heart about some things. And she'd been following all the news that's been going on in Ukraine, and it was troubling her deeply. I've spoken to a lot of people who are very troubled by what they're reading in the paper, what they're seeing on their television. All those images, as one person said, "I wish I could unsee this, but I cannot." And she was talking about a real mix of feelings she has. First, she wanted to tell me that she's been feeling kind of powerless about what she can do about this. It's happening far away. The word she used was savagery. That this was just beyond words awful. And she was thinking that, what can I do about this? But I'm so far away, I can't do anything about this. And by the way, I know we've talked a little bit about this in weeks past. In fact, in the last week, I put let's say a short video up on our parish websites and our parish YouTube page where I talk about prayer. I talk about listening. We have a lot of people in our area who have family connections to the Ukraine, and I've run into folks who desperately want to talk because they don't know who else to talk to or who to turn to. We can listen. Neighbors, Christian folks, we listen to our neighbors, listen to our sisters and brothers, and let them talk about what they're worried about. I can ask them how their families are, how are their parents doing, things like that. We can be present to people. And also, I brought up again, Catholic Relief Services. They're involved with refugee resettlement. They're involved with hunger programs. They're very active in the Ukraine. You can put them into your browser in your computer, crs.org, if you're looking for some prayerful things and some practical things to do. But we talked about that a little bit, but then she said, I've got some more concrete things, Father. And then she started talking. I thought I was talking to Henry Kissinger for a moment, because she had in mind some very specific military things to do. She had in mind some very specific things to do economically. She had some very specific diplomatic things to do. And then she said, Father, all those ideas, I am washing my hands of them. I've been praying for a few days now, and I realize I'm not a general. I'm not a banker or financier or an entrepreneur. I'm not a diplomat. My husband will tell you I'm not a diplomat. But she said, for all these things are going on, I am a baptized person who prays. And I'm praying for the people and all the suffering they're experiencing. And I pray for a change of heart in the people who are making that suffering possible. Yeah. That was really very good. And we were talking about that because, this is the Lenten season, right? We're a people of prayer. We're people of prayer who give thought to change. We think about in Lent how we change ourselves. We look inwardly. And we're a people of prayer. We look inwardly and we seek to change things that are going on in our lives, change them for the better. Lent is about change. Changing ourselves. We seek out different paths. No two people are alike. We look at our gifts and we want to try and make change. Follow Jesus more faithfully. Change the way we interact with our families and our neighbors. Change the way we interact with the world. Lent is that time. The gospel we hear today is very timely in that sense. Jesus goes off to a quiet place to pray. He brings along Peter, James, and John. And while they're praying on this mountaintop, Jesus is transfigured before them. This cloud overcomes them, and Moses and Elijah are in the cloud. Now remember, this is Peter, James, and John, three faithful Jewish men. Moses and Elijah are there? Really? They're talking to Jesus? We've been following Jesus. Moses and Elijah are talking to Jesus. Moses is talking to him about his exodus. The exodus Jesus will perform when he is in Jerusalem. Wow, underline that thought a few times. You know, Abraham and Sarah introduce us to God in a much more favorable way than Adam and Eve did. Moses frees the people from their bondage. Jesus just does not free us, Jesus saves us. Abraham is foundation. Moses liberates. Jesus saves. We see that connection with them. All those people are in our readings today. Moses is Exodus, taking the people out of a really awful situation where they were enslaved. Jesus comes to us, and he brings about a new Exodus to take us out of the experiences that we're living in and to bring us closer to the Father. He's moving us from one place to another. And he does that by his living, by his dying, and by his rising. His resurrection is an exodus to bring us to a new place. Peter, after he kind of collects himself, the cloud disappears. We've been around, we've had fog a few mornings this week, pretty thick fog, right? Saw the school kids standing in the fog waiting for the buses early in the morning. The sun comes and burns off the fog. When the cloud lifts from this mountaintop where Jesus is with Peter, James, and John, Moses and Elijah are gone. Peter composes himself. I love Peter, he's so human. He walks over to Jesus and he says to him, "Master, it's good that we were here. Let's erect some tents." You're thinking, tents? Peter, what are you thinking? This is just an incredible vision you've seen. You want to make tents? We're not talking like going to the Catskills to camp out. We're talking about an image that's a very, very Moses image. After the people are freed, after God separates the waters and Moses leads the people through the Red Sea to the other side, and then the waters collapse and just drown the Egyptian army who had been pursuing them. On the other side, Moses erects some tents, and the people go into the tents to pray. And they pray to give thanks to God, and they give for protecting them. And then they pray and give thanks to God for the promise of being sent to a new home that will be theirs. Like the image we heard in the first reading with Abraham, I will promise you and your people, your descendants are as numerous as the stars of the sky, and you will have a land that is your own. And the people thank God that they're on this journey again. Life, death, and new life with Jesus. We're being transfigured into a new place where we have a new relationship with God. How can we Exodus, leave behind the problems we see? Problems? Yeah. The violence in the Ukraine, hunger in the world, disease, discrimination, violence. There's lots of things. Pick up the paper, turn on your computer and check out the news. There are a lot of things in our world that need healing in very profound ways. We have something to offer as healing for the world because Jesus offers to us, and we in turn now offer it to the world. Jesus is going to bring us to a new place. We leave one place and come to another. And when we come to this new place, we have a deeper, firmer, better relationship with God. And we build a new relationship with our families, with our neighbors. Hey, with the world. Like the woman I met in the hospital. She'd been sitting prayerfully with all this stuff churning inside her. What can I do to help the people? How can I heal the world? She realized that some of the worldly solutions are left to someone else. But she can pray. She can pray for the people. She can act on their behalf. She can pray to change hearts, that this violence ceases. Part of our Lenten journey, we pray, we assess, we look around and see the world. And being followers of Jesus, we see how Jesus responds to the world. He heals the sick. He feeds the hungry. He raises people from the dead. Things we can do. We are called, and for us we begin it with prayer. Jesus transfigured that mountaintop that day. We are transfigured too. We transfigure our place in the world. Jesus gave it a vision of glory. We can change the world so it can become a more glorious world, closer to the time when Jesus will come again, when his glory will be our glory. We transfigure our relationship with God, our neighbor, with the world, and we can pray, we can love, we can serve, we can change hearts.